It's Ports a Call waterfront dining, award-winning service and cuisine with a view of the dynamic L.A. harbor from every seat. For reservations and directions, visit portsacalldining.com or call 310-833-3553.
Well, a Tempe show just has an energy level that's just beyond belief. And
well, it was a great show. Am I wrong? Is that the song you did the night after the presidential election?
That was the show after the presidential election, and that's what I was going to ask.
If I recall correctly, before he does Badlands, between the river and Badlands, he said, "I don't know what you guys thought about what happened last night, but I thought it was terrifying." And I know, as I recall, he didn't say much else.
That's right.
He just went into Badlands.
Can we pin that as the first time that he ever got political on stage?
No.
No?
He was political on stage the first night he walked out there with Clarence Clemens.
Well said. No, that's true. You're right. You got me. You got me. Absolutely.
And it's funny because we never had talked about it until Clarence died, but he and I actually did finally have that conversation, just the two of us one night, or one afternoon, actually. And it's kind of hard. I'm still in a place, and I probably shouldn't be, but, I just am, where it's hard to talk about Clarence, man. Because I guess, if I reflect back on that conversation we had, and it was really just the two of us, and I don't even know if I should talk about it in public, but here I am doing it. It was one thing for the two of them to go out there every night. It was another thing for Clarence to be there 24 hours a day and be who he was and no cover. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that he was a target or anything. Not that he wasn't. But, I think in that moment of doing Badlands, if anybody on Ronald Reagan's staff knew about that and still let Reagan say what he said, they deserved everything they got. Because after that night, I would have told you that was going to be Bruce's response to somebody trying to take his songs and change their meaning. That was the night that he graduated into something like what he is now. And what he is now is more truly than anybody else I can think of, a true statesman of popular culture. I think that was the fact that Tempe exists. There couldn't be a more important show, and it was a great show. It was an unbelievable show. I can remember a lot about that day and a lot about that show. I can remember flying out there and having this long talk with Max about drumming, and at the end of it saying to Max, you really ought to do a book about drumming.
And he did.
That worked out pretty well.
That did. Yeah, that's funny.
Well, he and I still laugh about that when we talk about drumming, which we do regularly on the Springsteen channel, as some people will know. It was a fabled night, and it's weird because things happened when he played. Because the other one I remember is the night. That's not the night when the girls charged the stage and ended on Rosalita.
That was
earlier.
That was the Darkness.
That was the Darkness tour, right?
Right.
So I guess I was at both of them.
Wow.
I know I was at that show because I remember I didn't vote in that election. I'd had enough of Jimmy Carter, for one thing.
Right.
So I just didn't, Yeah, it was things happened in that place that just it was the most eccentric place to have become a center of Bruce fandom, but it really was one of the early ones. Like, you can make sense of Austin. Why Arizona?
Yeah.
This is all before Rattlesnake Speedway and all that. It started, I'm pretty sure that his that the enthusiasm for him in Arizona started with the first two albums. I think he already had a base there before Born to Run came out on the radio. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it was a very charged night. And, it's interesting that you asked that question. It was like, the first night, was he ever political? Man, I can't imagine how you could read Darkness as anything, that whole album as anything but political. In an America that doesn't want to admit it has a class system.
True.
And the River, to me, the River really takes 3 albums to become a kind of profound commentary on the society in which it's being made, and that's when he gets to Jackson Cage.
Right.
And which is by far the most underrated song on that album for me. It always has been. It relates, for me, to some very specific people in my life in sort of, my parents and Barbara's parents' generation, specifically both of our mothers in different ways. And by the time we got to Phoenix, so
yeah, right,
it was still in the show.
Right.
It was still it's still up towards the front of the show. Because that song, look at this, okay? So here's the sequence for you, okay? Jackson Cage, Two Hearts, The Promised Land. That's the America Ronald Reagan was going to run.
Yeah.
Or run out of.